Good morning. You know, if Detroit and its surrounding areas are to have a true and full renaissance or revitalization, whichever term you're most comfortable with, it will have to be off the backs of small entrepreneurs who aren't afraid to bring new and creative businesses to this region. Today, three ladies who are making their dreams come true in very different ways. Meet Dana White, Michelle Lewis, and Regina Gaines. It's Sunday, January the 14th. I'm Chuck Stokes, and this is Spotlight. And welcome to Spotlight. Dana White, thank you for coming in, talking with us today.
Nice to meet you.
Paralee Boyd.
Yes.
That sounds like a person's name, not a salon.
Yes, it is.
So it's both.
It is now.
Okay. Tell me how the name came about.
Paralee Boyd is the name of my grandmother, Paralee. She grew up in Camp Branch, Kentucky, and in the 1930s had dreams of being an entrepreneur. And you know, back then, an African-American woman in Camp Branch, Kentucky didn't have the opportunity.
That's tall order.
Exactly. Yeah. So she got married and moved to Detroit. She is the icon in our salon for how we service our guests and how we treat each other. So.
All right, and there are a million, maybe a zillion salons. Women like to get their hair done.
Do.
I'm just proof in my own family.
Okay.
I got a wife and two daughters, and a considerable amount of money, I think, goes into the salon business. And I know it's a big business and it's important. What's unique about your salon?
You're absolutely right, Chuck. A lot of women like to get their hair done, and it's a huge industry. But at Paralee Boyd, what we do is that we've applied a lean manufacturing process to how women with thick and curly hair get their hair done.
So we're talking hair, but we're also talking automotive
Absolutely.
And the history of this city.
Absolutely, and that's why I chose to come back to Detroit to open this business. A lot of people are bringing in businesses from around the country that have been opened someplace else, but I felt it was important to launch a revolutionary type business as a national brand from Detroit.
All right, so you started here, first one was in Southville.
Yes.
Okay, you're now adding on others, and
Yep.
you hope to go national?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm a Goldman Sachs alumni. I'm a recipient of the Entrepreneur of Color Fund with JP Morgan Chase, as well as Invest Detroit. And I've shared my vision with all of those entities, and they are committed to helping me realize that vision.
So, you know, this takes me back to Berry Gordy when he started Motown, used the theory of an automotive manufacturing plant in the assembly line to how he was going to do Motown and churn out records and hits after hits and look at the industry that he built. And of course the Motown name is iconic. And that's sort of the same thing that you're doing here.
Absolutely. I identified a problem. You know, when I used to work overseas and I lived in New York, I noticed that you'd had to make an appointment weeks out and then get there and be there from 9 a.m. sometimes to 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then you're spending anywhere from $80, $90 to $100 to be there all day. With my on-the-go lifestyle, traveling for work, and the modern-day woman doesn't have that kind of time anymore.
They want to get in, get out, but they want it to look good when they come out.
Absolutely, and have healthy hair. So Paralee Boyd is a walk-in only 7-day-a-week hair salon. And I'm able to do that because I've leaned out.
So you don't have to make an appointment?
We don't accept appointments at all. We're walk-in only, 7 days a week. And the only way we're able to achieve that is by removing appointments that would require an appointment, like cutting or coloring, and putting in appointments that makes us really committed to quality hair care. We actually encourage you to maintain your relationship with your stylist because there's things that she's going to do. Again, she's going to give you that amazing color. She's going to give you that amazing cut.
And that's relationship building.
And that's relationship building. But women come to Paralee Boyd because they'll get that call at 3 o'clock saying, hey girl, we're all getting together to go have dinner and you want to go get your hair done. Or you know you have a business meeting on Tuesday that was called impromptu and you need to get your hair done on Monday, so you'll look forward to that business meeting. That's what Paralee Boyd is there for that woman that's on the go, that appreciates her, a business that respects her time and her dollar.
All right, so I'm going to ask you a question that I'm going to ask everybody that I'm interviewing today. Is Detroit, Southeast Michigan a good place for what you're trying to do And if so, why?
The lean manufacturing portion of my business is steeped in the history of Southeast Michigan. We're looking at, like you said, Berry Gordy and Henry Ford. Detroit is in the comeback. This is the Renaissance, and Detroit is ready to receive brands and businesses that are going to be a part of that regenesis of how Detroit's going to look in the future. I find it and it's almost my duty as a business owner to pay homage to what got us to being Detroit and carry that mantle forward. So to answer your question, absolutely, Detroit and Southeast Michigan is ready for businesses to come in and make a difference.
And a good time to be a female entrepreneur of African American descent?
What better time and what better place than Detroit, Michigan? Again, there's JP Morgan Chase, Entrepreneur of Color Fund, there's Motor City Match. There are so many vehicles here to make sure that women of color, women who are interested in going into these entrepreneurial roles are supported. And that's just to name a few. I mean, my advice to anybody who's in corporate America thinking about taking that jump, jump. And if you jump, jump in Detroit.
All right. Dana White,
Chuck
best of
Stokes.
luck with
Thank you
Paralee
so
Boyd.
much.
And we're going to keep tabs on you and see how you do.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yep.
And we'll be back in just a second, and we'll talk to another young entrepreneur. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Spotlight. We're going to turn our attention now to a totally different profession, something that a lot of people love to do, something I would like to do, but I certainly don't have the talent to be able to do it, I don't think, but maybe I will after this interview, and that's painting. And Michelle Lewis, thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
All right, let me take you back a little bit. Trained engineer from the prestigious Tuskegee Institute way down there in Tuskegee, Alabama, spent 6 years through that program. And now you have a franchise that deals with painting. Explain that to me.
Well, actually it's architecture. It's all creative. It's using your creativity. So though I struggled with the idea of first opening a painting studio, thinking it's not my major, that's not my field, that's not what I went to school for, would I miss architecture? You know, I said, it's still creative. It's using my creativity. And I feel I still get to enjoy architecture every day that I wake up. So.
Did you have one of those conversations with a family member who said, wait a minute, now you went to school for what and you're about to do what?
Yes, my mom.
Okay, as a parent, we've all had those conversations. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure they're proud of you now, though.
Absolutely.
PWAT, P-W-A-T, right?
You got it right.
Yeah, okay. What does it stand for?
Painting with a twist. So how that came about is our corporate office is outside of New Orleans, and they were initially called Corks and Canvas.
You spent time in New Orleans.
I did. I spent time in New Orleans. That's where I came upon the studio. I first went there, and I thoroughly enjoyed myself. Painted every week, every other week. And then I thought, hey.
Were you a painter before?
I was not. No, actually I was very afraid to sit down my first time, even though I was creative. I was very afraid to sit down in front of a blank canvas my first time. But you know, 5 minutes went by and it was just so enjoyable. By the end of the class, I found myself wanting to sign up for some more classes. But a couple of months went by, I would post my pictures on Facebook, and a few friends of mine would say, hey, do we have one of those here in Michigan? And I began to think, I said, hey, why don't I bring this opportunity to Michigan? And at the time, there was nothing like this in Michigan. Once I brought it to Michigan, we were the first paint and sip. We call it the paint and sip industry now. Painting with a Twist has created an industry.
What are they sipping? No, maybe we're better off not knowing. Okay.
Well, you should know. For our adults, you can BYOB, and that is beer or wine. Okay. Or you can bring any water or pop that you wish. For our family days, it's no beer or wine, of course, but you can bring a pop or a juice or anything that you like, and you can also bring snacks.
I know a few people in this business, when you say bring your own bottle, they'd be there in a real hurry to do some painting. And the two sometimes I think really do go together. It's part of that creative spirit, and
It
why not
does.
enjoy yourself with a little bit of wine or whatever it is
It gets you,
while you're trying to do that.
It gets you really relaxed. We're like a production at our studio. Our artists are our stars, and then our customers, our guests, they're like the cast. So everybody plays a role, and you're really having a great time. If you want to be as lively as you like, you can be that in our studio, or you can be a little laid back, look at everyone else, have a good time, laugh, or be with your mate. Or some people come by themselves. They just really love the painting.
It's also a place that could be a good place to meet people, meet new and interesting people. All right, the PWAT is where?
We have a Ferndale, Farmington, and Detroit locations that I own and manage.
What's your goal, your aspirations? How far do you want to take this?
Gosh, how far can I take it? I would love to take it as far as I can. If there's opportunity to open other studios, I would love to do that. But I look at the opportunities in Detroit, and there's so much more. Being a young entrepreneur in Detroit, there's opportunity to do so much.
I keep hearing people in all different professions say this is a fantastic time to come to Detroit because it is sort of a blank canvas and it's not so crowded with already well-established things that you can go in and fulfill your dream and do your thing.
Absolutely, but it's not easy, and folks need to know that. But it's possible, and I'm here to show that it's possible. It may take a little longer. It takes a lot of thought process. You really need to surround yourself with people that...
You have a good business plan.
Absolutely, good business plan. People that know business or can help you with financing. There's a lot of financing out here. When I first started, there weren't all the programs that are around now, a lot of entrepreneurial programs, but there are a lot now. There are a lot of lenders that are lending to a lot of minority businesses, entrepreneurs. So there's a lot for people to take advantage of.
All right, small business, I always hear, is the backbone of America. You agree or disagree?
I absolutely agree. I really do. I do.
All right, Michelle Lewis, thank you so much for coming in. Best of luck with PWAT. And I may try to get over there pretty soon. I'm not really a painter, but it seems like it'd be a lot of fun.
It would.
All right. And coming up, we'll talk to a person, we were talking a little bit on the sly about wine. This person makes their living talking about wine. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Spotlight. We're now turning our attention to vino, wine, and a woman who owns the House of Vin, Regina Gaines. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, Chuck. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic.
We have bumped into each other from time to time at different places, and
Yes.
you keep saying you got to do something on this House of Vin,
Right.
and I keep saying I will, and finally we're getting it done. So thank you for your patience in doing
Thank
this.
you.
The House of Vin. You've been mentored by Dan Gilbert.
Yes.
Tell me about that and how this ties into your business, because I've never heard him involved in the wine business.
Well, we, at the time that we went through Tech Town Retail Boot Camp, Bedrock was one of the recipients in terms of giving as a sponsor to win a space downtown. And we were the finalists. And we actually, as part of going through Retail Boot Camp at Tech Town, we was able to win a retail space downtown on Woodward Avenue.
How difficult was Retail Boot Camp?
Retail Boot Camp was a challenge.
How long have you been with the House of Vin? How long has this been established?
So we've been on Woodward now for 2 years.
All right, how's it going?
Things are going well. You know, every day is a grind. We grinding it out. But if this is the bottom, the upside is wonderful.
All right, so explain what the House of Vin is for someone who's never been in your place at all. And we've got some pictures that we're showing of it.
So House of Vin is a retail store. We actually have 2 sommeliers. One is a master sommelier and one is a certified sommelier. And what you do is you come in here and you kind of learn about wines. We have a tasting room.
Which is popular.
Right. We have a tasting room. We have a wine club. We actually do pop-up dinners and wine dinners. So these are all the things that kind of come about. We do corporate gifting, and the whole point of the premises is to give a place where people can feel comfortable to know about wine. And most importantly, we do a great, significant business for Michigan vineyards. So that's how the name came about, Pure Michigan. So Michigan right now is up to 180 vineyards. It does about $300 million in the state in terms of economy and tourism. And we wanted to be a part of that. So we actually provide a pathway for them as well.
Your clientele, who is your clientele?
You know, that's why we're so blessed. It's everybody. It's
Young, old?
if you over 21 and you can drink, that's our clientele. And it's been like that, I think, because of the diversity of our staff and just, you know, the owners being the people you grew up around the block from. You know, we have people from all walks of life. So it's been very colorblind. It's been the demographics, the psychographics have been very neutral. So we've been blessed to that. And one of the things I can say, the African American community has been very supportive to us. I have people who come just from Farmington Hills all the way downtown just to come and buy their wine from us. So I think, you know, from that part of it, you know, it's been unreal for the amount of support that we get from our community.
Regina, what has been the biggest challenge of being an entrepreneur, starting a business in a city that is undergoing revitalization?
I think being part of that Woodward movement has been a little bit of a challenge because the fact is that our community is kind of conflicted right now about inclusion, especially downtown.
It's a very serious issue, the whole regentrification,
Right.
which not just is happening in Detroit, but it's happening in so many other major cities in America.
You know, I talk about it, you know, with the previous guest a lot too, Painting with a Twist, because they're around the corner, and people don't realize just how many minorities and women that do have businesses downtown. I do know that when I do talk to Mr. Gilbert a lot about inclusion and the things that needs to be done in terms to make everybody feel like they're a part of it and to showcase Detroit, we talk about it a lot.
And does Dan Gilbert seem to get that?
Oh, absolutely. He does. You know, I can actually say he does for me. I've been able to have conversations with him about growing a business, being black, being an African American woman, how important it is for us to not make House of Pure Vin look like it's a one-shot deal, meaning that we're going to be the one or the signature business that's down on Woodward. And I've been bold about being African American, about being a woman, about being a single mom. And, you know, I've been able to showcase those conversations with him. And he's actually even called me at times when he's mentoring a bunch of African American women from the 8th grade that's sitting in his office. He's like, Regina, you need to come over here and talk to these kids about what you're doing. You know, so yes. You know.
And that's become a passion of yours. I mean, you're passionate about the House of Vin because that's your business, but you're going beyond that. You're mentoring other entrepreneurs.
Absolutely.
And in particular, a lot of women.
Right. It's a couple of things. I think, first of all, you know, as being a recipient of the Colors of Entrepreneurs Fund, I am one of the first people where Detroit Economic Growth Corporation, Invest Detroit, and Detroit Development Fund came together to give us funding. I've been through Tech Town, I've been through the Goldman Sachs program, and I've actually been able to have people like Dan Gilbert and Gretchen Perkins sit down with me to talk about growth. I think in entrepreneurship, it happens in different levels. You know, it's easy to open up a business, you know, and I think Detroit gives you plenty of opportunities now more so ever to open up a business. And historically, Detroit has been great to African Americans entrepreneurs. But where we get stuck is how do you grow your business? And I think that, you know, for me, when people say, well, you know, how is it like, you know, working with Dan Gilbert and working with that? Well, really, I want to get over that hump and like growing the business. And I talked to him, how do I make House of Pure Vin a signature staple? I want to be the Starbucks of wine.
Okay.
I want to give other women opportunities to own their own franchises, and I want to be able to have more African Americans in the business of wine and how being able to, you know, distribute their own bottles. We talking to a couple African American men who starting their own wine labeling right here in Detroit and how to get funding. You know, when you have a resource like Dan Gilbert, you don't root against him. You try to make an alliance with him and figure out how do you use those type of resources to pipe funding into your community so you can expand and grow and give other people opportunities.
You're bullish on Detroit.
Yes.
Final question. One thing that all of the women that I've interviewed today have in common from a marketing standpoint is a man named David Rudolph.
Oh, absolutely.
How important has it been to be able to have someone who knows the PR and marketing business help you do what you're trying to do, you and Dana and Michelle?
David gives you an opportunity to be in the right position to be heard. A lot of people know about a lot of businesses, but be able to showcase what you do to the masses.
It's getting the message out.
Absolutely. You know, I think that one of the things that, you know, I'm a brander. And when I called David and was like, hey, David, I want you to work with me, he was like, okay, Regina, you know branding and marketing, but I don't know PR. And when you can have somebody that's credible that can pick up the phone and get you on television, can get you into the right places at the right time to help build alliances where you are doing businesses with other African American businesses. You know, I always say all the time is that, you know, we as an African American business, we sometimes want to go and get the big firms, and which rightfully so. I can understand why people think that. But that don't mean they get you, right? And they don't mean that they understand how to convey your message. And most importantly, when I'm dealing in my world, when I first hired David, it was like I'm in the bedrock system. And when I go in to have meetings with them, it's not just me. They have it's like sitting at a corporate board meeting. They have everybody there. And you need to be able to make sure that your PR, your messaging can be able to correspond with their message, their messaging, and that your message is not being lost in translation. And he is the enforcer of the message. And that's why it's important to have him. He opens up doors, he enforces your message, and he also keeps you on track.
Regina Gaines, that's a great way to end this piece and to end this segment. Best of luck with the House of N, and we're going to keep track of you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. And when we come back, we'll turn our attention to a very important event this past week in Macomb County. They celebrated a very special birthday. Stay with us.
Wayne County was the very first county recognized in the state of Michigan. The second was not Oakland County. It was Monroe County, okay? So second was Monroe County, and Macomb became third, and where Oakland County ended up, who knows? And no offense to Brooks, but you could tell him this, quite frankly, who cares? So,
on behalf of the Board of Trustees of the Historical Society of Michigan and the thousands of our members and friends all around our great state, I am happy to present this milestone award to Macomb County.
Happy birthday to us. Happy birthday to us. Happy birthday, dear Macomb County. Happy birthday to us.
all right, now let's pull off a candle here. You can go ahead and blow that out. You get the middle one. I got number 2, baby. Ready? Let's do it. There we go. All right.
Happy birthday, Macomb County. I'm Chuck Stokes. We'll be back next week with more newsmakers in the spotlight. We hope you have a great week. And next week, we'll turn our attention to the North American International Auto Show. Have a great week.